APS takes extra preventative measures. Member of Parliament Emmanuel questions central bank on bailout. But first up, Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs on single-use plastics. Those are the headlines for Thursday, March the 5th, 2020. This is SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you for joining me. Now for the details. Prime Minister Mrs. Sylvia Jacobs, in addressing the ongoing single-use plastics issue, says that the Department of Interior and Kingdom Relations, BOC, has launched 2 projects in relation to the single use of plastics. The aim is to raise awareness of the dangers of single-use plastics, especially during Carnival season. The announcement was made at the Council of Ministers press briefing on Wednesday, March the 4th, 2020.
Is the single-use plastic. The Department of the Interior and Kingdom Relations, BOC, under SDG 12, Responsible Consumption and Production, SDG 13, Climate Action, and SDG 14, Life Below Water, recently launched 2 initiatives aimed to secure and promote the sustainable development of our country. The first initiative was the Single-Use Plastic Project with the slogan, St. Martin, Plastic Free by 2023. This project was launched in February 2020 and will continue until May of this year. It aims to engage the public by raising awareness about the dangers of single-use plastic, particularly during the Carnival season. We're using the Carnival season as the launching pad to bring awareness. As you know, this is a festival that has a high use of single-use plastic, foam, and the like. This project also aims at sharing information about alternative products in an effort to reduce plastic use on the island and predominantly during our upcoming season. This initiative brings awareness to the use of products, and the department has engaged stakeholders such as Cam's Food World on the Pondville and PDG Supplies in Cold Bay, where biodegradable and reusable products are available. A second component to this project is a logo and waste competition, which is currently ongoing in both the primary and secondary schools on the island. The community and parents are hereby encouraged to support the children in these initiatives to reduce single-use plastic on our island. As you know, we are also in the process of dealing with legislation, but we believe that legislation can have an impact, but we must also control our behaviors in advance of legislation as responsible citizens. So I'm looking forward to the public's participation in reducing our plastic use, or single plastic use especially, over the next few months, that it becomes a habit. For more information on how you can get involved, please contact the Department of Interior and Kingdom Relations via our Facebook.
The Prime Minister also updated the media about the challenges that the postal services on St. Martin is encountering, especially with the issue of space. Last week, the Prime Minister led a delegation of the Council of Ministers with the postal services.
My findings were only to see what had already been reported, but together with the Council of Ministers the members of the Council of Ministers who were able to accompany me, we were able to see some of the challenges the post office is currently facing in the new location. While they are grateful for the location, there are some challenges with space. As a result, I have had discussions with our facilities manager as well as Mr. Labega, who is DMO, to ensure that more space, which is at the back, is made available, as there was really not enough. It's not conducive to the working environment. However, I must commend the postal workers for continuing to work, even though the circumstances are not optimal. And together we are looking for solutions. Prior to that visit, we had already assisted in ensuring that proper cleaning was taking place, as well as ensuring that security was present. What is coming next is the placement of an ATM machine. So we were able to see where the ATM machine would be located. It would be outside of the current post office location, so that other vendors Persons from the government building or within the vicinity could also make use of it during the day as well as nighttime. So it is not restricted for postal workers, but the permission was given to have it erected on the property so that there is access, so that some of postal's services could also be facilitated. We also looked at possibilities of expanding the space where they are so that they are able to carry out the other services that have fallen off once they have met the requirements with the financial institutions.
And in news from the northern side of the island at this time, the Collectivité of Saint Martin confirms that it has distributed hydroalcoholic solutions in all schools on French Saint Martin from the beginning of the week as part of a prevention against the coronavirus. The distribution was made in conjunction with the Territorial Funding for School Activities, CTOS, until the available stock lasts. The hydroalcoholic solutions distributed have been entrusted to the school director, head of the establishment, or directly installed in the refectory of the establishment. Thus, all schools are provided and have an additional dose. CTOS is responsible for verifying consumption and restocking, while National Education and Community staff are responsible for monitoring their proper use with students. Aware of the importance of hygiene in such a situation, the community has also set up an emergency procedure for the repair of faulty pipes in the sanitary facilities of certain primary schools. While the technical services are currently unable to intervene directly due to a problem of access to equipment, the community has entrusted a service provider to carry out these urgent plumbing repairs. And still to come, Member of Parliament Christopher Emmanuel queries Central Bank on bailout. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
And in more news at this time, as we continue, the Detective Department arrested a male suspect with the initials FW on Tuesday morning, March the 3rd, in connection with an investigation into the female victim who was found burned in Dutch Quarter. The suspect had appeared at a police station in Phillipsburg and gave the detectives a breakdown on what took place with the victim on the day of February the 29th. The victim, JJW, is being treated in the burn victim unit in Colombia and is still in critical condition. The investigation is still ongoing. The police would like to thank the public for their assistance in this case and asking any other witnesses to contact the St. Martin Police Force. And in more news, the police patrols were directed to a travel agency on the Welfare Road on Tuesday afternoon about 5 p.m. for an armed robbery that had just taken place. According to the information gathered on the scene, 2 men dressed in dark clothing appeared in front of the agency on a scooter. One of the suspects stayed outside on the scooter while the second suspect entered the office and began robbing the cashier and the workers. After robbing the agency, the two suspects fled on the scooter in the direction of Simpson Bay. The St. Martin Police Force is requesting any information from persons who may have seen or recognized the suspects connected to this investigation. The more the community comes together to assist in the combating of these crimes, the faster the culprits can be apprehended. And at the Central Committee meeting on Parliament, which was held on March 2, 2020, Member of Parliament Christopher Emmanuel, in querying the interim president of the Central Bank, Mr. Jose Jardim, about bailing out financial institutions in Curaçao, the Member of Parliament wanted to know how much money has been spent to bail out the buy-in of Curaçao, or if they have ever bailed out any financial institutions in Curaçao.
I would like to know how much money or how much have been spent by the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin to bail out banks in Curaçao. If they have, how many banks have they bailed out, and to what tune in terms of money, what cost, how much? If they have ever bailed out any financial institutions in Curaçao in particular, not in St. Martin. Even though it's the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin, I would like to know, Mr. Chairman, how much funds have the Central Bank spent on bailing out any financial institution in Curaçao? And I would also like to know, Mr. Chairman, how many financial institutions have ever asked for a bailout, or have the Central Bank find it necessary that financial institutions should be bailed out? Mr. Chairman, I would like the data on that, the names, whether it's a Heater Bank, whether it's Villanova Bank, whether it's Postpaid Bank, whether it's Ania. I would like to know, Mr. Chairman, how many financial institutions right now are in critical condition, and the Central Bank is looking at these institutions and saying that a bailout may be necessary. Also, Mr. Chairman, this is also a tag-on question to what I asked a while ago. Are there any more banks on the verge of collapsing in Curaçao? Are there any more financial institutions on the verge of collapsing in Curaçao? And if the answer is yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to know what is the actions that the Central Bank think is necessary to safeguard the financial institutions. Mr. Chairman, I would like to know also concerning Postpaid Bank here in St. Martin, concerning Windward Island Bank here in St. Martin, knowing that they are partners with Maduda and Codil's Bank in Curaçao, and also with Postpaid Bank in Curaçao being the headquarters. Mr. Chairman, I would like to know, can the Central Bank give members of Parliament sort of an explanation if Heater Bank is in the situation that it's in? Would Windward Island Bank here in St. Martin, would Postpaid Bank here in St. Martin be affected in any way? Because reports that what we have been receiving here in St. Martin, Mr. Chairman, is that people trying to withdraw all their monies from the bank is crashing, and this is going to be a ripple effect on the other banks in Curaçao, that we have branches here in St. Martin. Mr. Chairman, I would like to know what is the consequences.
An interim president of the Central Bank, Mr. Jose Jardim, responding to the Member of Parliament's question, Mr. Jardim said that the Central Bank never bailed out banks in Curaçao. The Central Bank has the possibility, however, to lend liquidity support to banks.
Posed by MP Emmanuel, why is the St. Martin economy growing and Curaçao is not? I think that we have tried to answer the question that although we have observed that the economy of St. Martin has been growing faster than Curaçao's, that doesn't mean that the central bank thinks that that growth has been sufficient. Actually, both economies have proven to be facing structural deficiencies, which were highlighted in answering the questions by MP Westcott Williams. This covers also the question related to advantages and disadvantages. The next question of MP Emmanuel is how much money has been used by the central bank to bail out banks in Curacao. Just to define a bailout, the central bank has not bailed out any bank. What the central bank, when we are talking about Giro, what happened is that there is a lender of last resort function from the central bank. That means that whenever any bank is facing liquidity constraints, that the central bank has the possibility to grant liquidity support to those banks. And that's conditioned to the existing of sufficient collateral. And that's why, for instance, the outstanding balance vis-a-vis Giro is 267 million guilders. But this has nothing to do with a bailout, because once again, a bailout, that means that you are not recovering your money, and the 267 a liquidity support is to be recovered, because that's why the law also prescribes that you need to have sufficient collateral. And what we are seeing, for instance, in the solution regarding Giro is not the fact that the central bank doesn't have the collateral in there. There's collateral within Giro. The point is, if you want to have a more balanced solution in which, instead of preventing depositors from recovering their money, that the authorities of Curacao are willing to bail out Giro, that then in that construction the central bank is willing to consider the possibility to make that work in a way that the central bank recovers its funds. And like is publicly known, the government of Curacao is working on a construction which is intended to make it possible that the central bank recovers its 267 million guilders without affecting the depositors which were at Giro Bank.
Now turning to our weather forecast. Despite the presence of a weak surface trough, a relatively dry and stable atmosphere will continue to restrict precipitation across the local area. Meanwhile, the loose pressure gradient will maintain light to moderate winds. Slight to moderate seas are expected, with waves peaking up to 6 feet. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, President of the Windward Islands Teachers Union announces International Women's Day celebration. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transportation, and Telecommunications TEAT, Melissa Donker Arundel, is back on the island after undergoing a number of surgeries in the U.S. The minister said that it gives her great pleasure to be back with everyone.
It gives me great pleasure today to be here with you. As you are aware, I have been out for some time due to a medical situation beyond my control, but through God's grace, I am here today and able. Therefore, with this medium, please allow me to express my heartfelt thank you to the public, to the fellow ministers, and to everyone for extending their prayers and best wishes while I was ill. Thank you.
And SXM Daily News also welcomes back the minister as well. And we wish her continued success as she resumes her position as Minister of TEAT. And in other news at this time, President of the Windward Island Teachers Union, Mrs. Claire Elshot, announced that on Saturday, March the 7th, the Y2's Status of Women's Committee will be hosting a pre-International Women's Day celebration. The reason for this celebration is because the importance of this day cannot go unnoticed.
On Saturday, March the 7th, 2020, the Windward Islands Teachers Union Status of Women's Committee will be hosting for our members the International Women's Day celebration. Why I'm saying it's pre, because International Women's Day is on Sunday, March the 8th. The reason why we chose Saturday, or March the 7th, is because we recognize that the importance of this day cannot go unnoticed, and that in this fashion, the Status of the Women's Committee would really like to emphasize and also celebrate and commemorate all that has to do with women, especially based on the theme. So this event will be held on March the 7th from 9 to 11 a.m. It is actually a breakfast brunch, and the location is the Infinity Restaurant at Oyster Bay. We are asking our members, due to the fact that seating would be limited, to please confirm, and the confirmation would have to be done either the Facebook page or our email or my telephone number, which the email is winisland without a D, winislandteach@yahoo.com. My number is 526 7850, or the Y2 Facebook page would also be a correct area for you to be able to make that reservation.
And still to come, APS takes extra preventative measures. We'll have the details to that story and more with SXM Daily News Report.
Hello, St. Martin. My name is Stephanie Medina, and I play football with the Walichi Women Soccer team. I have represented St. Martin in many different games. For example, the Dutch Caribbean Women's Soccer Cup. I played against Bonaire, Aruba, and Curacao right here in this stadium. Sports matter to me because it makes me happy, it keeps me fit and healthy, and it is very fun. So I asked the business community to take on this challenge and help us rebuild our facilities. And I also asked the community to nominate the local businesses in your area and take on the challenge and step up for sport. Why? Because sports matter. Check out the Department of Sport Facebook page for more information. Hashtag sports matter. Hashtag are you in?
How are you doing this morning? Good. So Rebecca, thank you for coming. I work as a psychologist at the Mental Health Foundation. I mainly see children and adolescents, but I also see adults. So whenever there's a crowd, that's when you're starting to feel
nervous.
Okay.
nauseous.
Okay, it is kind of like your body. We are so used to taking care of our body. If we have a little ache in our foot, we know to rest it. We know, okay, I might have walked too much, so I need to rest. Now, of course, that can be just an ache in my foot, but I can also break my leg. Now, for breaking my leg, I would have to go to the doctor. So that kind of goes the same for mental health illnesses. So you can come in for something little as, I'm really stressed out lately. What would you need? A little bit of rest. But someone can also come in with way more difficulties. We're not here to judge right or wrong, good or bad. Is it helpful for you? Fine. Is it not helpful for you? Okay, then let's see what we can do about it. But not a wrong nor right. Absolutely not. It's a magnifying glass without judgment.
Well, there's still a lot of stigma on the island, unfortunately. It's not a topic that people easily talk about, and that's a shame. They're afraid that they get judged, and there is still quite a bit of judgment. I mean, often we hear, don't go to that crazy house. Once you go in, you never go back. And it's just not true, We treat a lot of patients here, and a lot of them, we get back on their feet.
Our goal at the Mental Health Foundation is for us to help you improve your life, for you to live a better, happier, and fuller life.
The General Pension Fund, Algemeen Pensioenfonds Sint Maarten, APS, has taken extra measures to ensure a hygienic office space for employees and visitors alike. APS found it necessary to take these measures based on the recent development of 2 confirmed cases of COVID-19 on French Sint Maarten. Visitors of APS include a vulnerable group for the virus, namely the elderly. During office hours, visitors can make use of hand sanitizers before and after transactions, and fixtures such as door handles, light switches, and water coolers will routinely be sanitized. APS employees have been briefed on preventative hygiene practices to prevent contamination. These include staying at home if sick and calling physician to report condition, ensuring personal hygiene, limiting exposure to sick people with flu symptoms, regular hand washing for at least 30 seconds, proper coughing and sneezing etiquette, no touching of face and mouth with hands, routine cleaning of hard surfaces such as desks, keyboards, etc. Management of APS is following local and international developments and will adjust preventative measures as is necessary. I am Valerie Van Putten. Just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you back here again tomorrow.